Hello and good evening, our beloved viewers. It's 9 p.m. You are watching on live RTD channel. Welcome to this English news edition. Here are the major stories. The head of state received the Prime Minister of Sudan. The Prime Minister received a Regional Director of IOM Regional Office for the East and the Horn of Africa. And on the international scenes, the open arms with the 363 migrants on boats will be able to dock in Silas. Those were the headlines. Welcome to our newsroom. The Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok arrived today for a 2 days official visit. Upon his arrival at the airport, he was welcomed by the Djiboutian Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamel Mohammed. Members of the government and senior civilians and military officials of the country, in the addition to the meeting with the President Gele, the Sudanese Prime Minister will visit the port infrastructure and Djibouti Telecom. After the airport, the first took the direction of the presidential palace for a meeting with the President Gele, followed by a meeting extended to both parties. At the presidential palace, the President, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, today received Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok, who arrived on his first official visit to the country since assuming the presidency in August. At the beginning of the meeting, the President of the Republic welcomed the Sudanese Prime Minister, thanking him for the visit, which reflects the extent of his interest in strengthening the fraternal ties between Djibouti and Khartoum. For his part, the Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok expressed his thanks and appreciations to the President of the Republic for the warm welcome and his delegation have received since his arrival in Djibouti. The Sudanese Prime Minister briefed the President of the Republic on the latest development in Sudan and the government's effort to overcome the current challenges. During this meeting, the President Gele reviewed the existing joint cooperation between the Republic of Djibouti and the Republic of Sudan and ways to develop the level of bilateral cooperation in the various files. It should be noted that the delegation of Sudanese Prime Minister include the Minister of Cabinet Affairs, Ambassador Omar Bashir Manis, and Abbas Madani Abbas, Minister of Industry and Trade, as well as the Director of National Intelligence Service, and Mr. Jamal Abdelmajid. On the Djiboutian side, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamel Mohammed, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mohammed Ali Yusuf, the Minister of Economic and Finance in charge of Industry, Mr. Ilyas Musa Dawali, the Minister of Commerce, Hassan Ahmed Ibrahim, and the Secretary General of the Presidency, as well as the Director of a Presidential Office, Mohammed Sadiq, and the Director of National Security Service, Hassan Said Khairi, participate in these talks. On the other hand, the President, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, and Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok held an expensive discussion session during which they discussed many topics and files of a common interest to the two countries. Members of the Mr. Abdullah's delegation participate in the session, including the Minister of Cabinet Affairs, Ambassador Mr. Omar Bashir, and Mr. Abbas Madani Abbas, the Minister of Industry, Trade, as well as the Director of National Intelligence Service, Mr. Jamal Abdel Majid. On the Djiboutian side, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamel Mohammed, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Mohammed Ali Yusuf, the Minister of Economic Ilyas Musa Dawali, and the Minister of Commerce Hassan Hamad Ibrahim, and as well as the Director of the Presidential Office, Mr. Mohammed Sadiq, and the National Security Service, Mr. Hassan Saeed Khairi, participate in the talks during this session. The two delegations reviewed the strengthening of a bilateral cooperation between the brotherly countries, between Djibouti and Khartoum, and the ways to develop fraternal ties in various areas. In April 2014, the two countries signed an agreement to strengthen cooperation in areas of a common concern, particularly higher education, health, agriculture, energy, trade, and justice. The Sudanese Prime Minister Mr. Abdullah Hamdok expressed his thanks and great appreciation to the President of the Republic for the warm receptions of his delegation, has received, stressing in depth the fraternal relation between the two countries. Let's listen to more details.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخامة الرئيس أخي إسماعيل عمر قيلي، يعني إحنا سعيدين بأنه نكون في وطننا الثاني جيبوتي.
In the name of God, the most merciful, His Excellency President Ismail Omar Guelleh, we are happy to be in our second homeland, Djibouti, and he is proud of our generous personal leadership. We see Djibouti as a center of stability, development, and progress in this troubled region. It is your experience and wise leadership that helped to make this region interconnected. My dear brother, thank you for what you have done. Sudan has won the presidency of your personal role in this area. Brother Foreign Minister was present. We, the leadership and the people, appreciate this very much and thank you, my generous brother. We aspire to start with the roadmap. The big issues in our organizations are addressed to find a recollection in another. We talked about finding a job, especially for us. We work together in creating large projects, such as the interconnection trade, all of which we aspire to consolidate with you and research a clear vision to push our organizations to greater heights. I am sure the bilateral relations between us and Djibouti are in it. As you have pleased my brother President, there are ties of culture, religion, and history, and we aspire because we all enjoy this relationship. Against all forms of cooperation between the ministerial community in all of bilateral level, the time came to revitalize relationships, bilateral and joint ministerial committee in solutions on all political and economic issues in all of them. The President briefly, quickly changed the profound change in Sudan that encompassed all aspects of life. We work hard with all the components of our people in creating what we may call a question model. We look with pity for what has happened around us and we will not spare our people. The fate of the incomplete transitions, as happened to our brothers in Libya, Yemen, Syria or Iraq, and all the issues and challenges of the Arab Spring, we believe, standing on a very rich experience of our people, and with the support of our brothers and friends, we can express our country to the perspectives of stability and progress. If we are creating a climate of stability in Sudan for every strategic man, again, thank you so much for this test, and we certainly felt at home.
For his part, the President of the Republic delivered a short speech at the session, which was initiated by the welcoming of the High Sudanese delegation led by the Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok. Let's listen to the head of his speech.
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulih al-amin, دولة الأخ العزيز الدكتور عبد الله حمدوك رئيس مجلس الوزراء في جمهورية السودان الشقيق الشقيقة أصحاب المعالي والسعادة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Praise to God and peace and prayers to His faithful messenger, Prime Minister of the Republic of Sudan, brotherly of the high and happy people, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. It is a great pleasure to welcome you and your delegation to your country, Djibouti, among your family and brothers. We reaffirm the pride of the Republic of Djibouti in the deep-seated frontier relations it has with its sister Republic of the Sudan, which are rooted in the depths of history, will remain an inherent symbol of the strength of our ties. It is a solid foundation from which it proceeds towards new levels and broad perspectives of cooperation and integration in various areas. The Prime Minister stated, in light of the risks and challenges facing our region, your generous visit to Djibouti is an important opportunity to follow up on the joint efforts of the two countries, to consult and coordinate on our ongoing efforts to address those challenges and to address these consequences and repercussions, as well as to strengthen the unity of our positions and push forward as our nations march toward development, prosperity, and stability. I would like to take this opportunity to emphasize Djibouti's keenness on the return of Sudan to its natural role in its regional, Arab, and African surroundings. In this context, we commend the success it has achieved in overcoming the current important stage. I also highly appreciate the tireless and sincere efforts that you are making in order to establish security and stability toward the country, to meet the benefits of the transition and to achieve the aspirations of the brotherly Sudanese people towards the establishment of democracy and development. At the same time, they stress Djibouti's firm position in support of the dear Sudan in everything that preserves its security and stability. It preserves its sovereignty and independence and brings prosperity to its decent people. In conclusion, I am pleased to express once again how happy we are to welcome you and the delegation accompanying you in my community. And thank you. Peace be upon you and God's mercy.
Following the session, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Government spokesman Mahmoud Ali Yusuf and Sudanese Prime Minister Cabinet Affairs Omar Bashir Maniz held a press conference in which they discussed the most important topics discussed during this session. At the beginning of the press conference, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation renewed his welcome to the Sudanese delegation and pointed out that Djibouti-Sudanese relations have witnessed qualitative shifts over recent years, pointing out that our country participated in the signing of a constitutional declaration in Sudan in August 2001 and in 2001. For his part, the Sudanese Cabinet Affairs Minister Ambassador Omar Bashir said that the visit of Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok to Djibouti welcomes after an invitation he received from the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh. He stressed that during the enlarged discussion session, the two sides discussed various areas of the cooperation which are of a common interest, adding that this is the first official visit of the senior Sudanese official to Djibouti after the December revolution. The Prime Minister briefed the President on the latest development in Sudan, the path of a transition period in the effort being made to achieve the objective of the Sudanese revolution, as well as the roadmap that is being implemented. The Sudanese Minister for Cabinet stressed the importance of the contribution of the Republic of Djibouti and its distinguished role within the international authorities of development, and the two leaders agreed to continue their consultation for the improvement of the performance of these governmental bodies. Still on national news, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed received Sunday morning in the Hall of Honor in the Prime Minister's office the Director of a Regional Office of International Organization for Migration for East Africa and the Horn of Africa, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir Mohammed, and Mr. He was accompanied on this visit by the coordinators of a United Nations agency based in Djibouti, Ms. Barbara Menzi. The meeting was attended by the Secretary General of the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Naguib Abdullah, and the and in charge of the affairs of International Organization for Migration in Djibouti, Mr. Ashraf Hassan. During this meeting, the two sides discussed many topics of common interest, including the regular and irregular migration and the inflow of migrants for Somalia, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, who crossed Djibouti to reach Yemen and then to the Gulf state. The two officials also discussed the rules of a regional office of the International Organization for Migration, known as OIM, in the east of Horn of Africa. According to the IOM figures, high 80% of migrants pose the humanitarian challenge to the authorities and communities. Under the auspice of a representative, Mr. Ahmed Roble, the Standing Committee on Social Development and Environmental Protection held a session to discuss bills 66 at the 28th legislature to discuss the prevention and protection of women and children victims of violence. This session is a continuation of the latest and the last session of the government was represented at this session by the Minister of Women and Families, Ms. Mumina Ms. Mumina, with the participation of the Minister of Health, Mr. Mohammed, and the official Minister of Justice, Ali Hassan Badon, in the addition to many permanent Vice President of the National Union of Women of Djibouti, Ms. Hasna Hamad Bilil. Continuing the national news, a protocol signing ceremony between the ODEC and Ankara University took place this morning at the ODEC premises. Were present at this ceremony the director of the General ODEC, Mr. Qayad Musa, and the professor of Applied Earth Science and the head of Department of Geology, Dr. Yusuf Kagan, as well as the several officials of the ODEC personalities. Indeed, the professor of Applied Earth Science and head of Department of Geology, Dr. Yusuf, made a presentation of the different geological sites, namely the Lakasal, Gubeit, and other. After the presentation, the two responsible persons initiate the document of the family photo, and at the end of the signing ceremony, the professor Applied Earth Science and head of Department of Geology thanked the director of ODEC who allow him to do this work in the best possible condition.
Just doing their master degrees, PhD degrees, training the geological engineering from the Djibouti and carrying them to Turkey to be a good background for both of the countries and between our university, Ankara University, and Djibouti's Mineral Research Center, and especially for the Mineral Research Directorate and the Ministry of the Mineral Research, and with the other, especially with the Agricultural Ministry, we can do a good cooperation between two of the university and the directory of the ODEC.
For his part, the director of ODEC thanked the professor Applied Earth Science and the head of the Department of Geology. He recalled the aim of this signature, which will allow the ODEC staff to continue their master's studies at the University of Ankara. He also indicated that the geological soil samples will be analyzed at the University of Ankara in the presence of the engineer. The coordinating committee of WAF Festival in corporations with the Office of the Morning Immigration and Translation Service on Sunday morning at Bandar Jadid Hall launched the media campaign for Festival of Loyalty under the slogans "Thank you Djibouti, Thank you Generation." At the beginning of this occasion, the festival general general coordinators unveiled the logo of a festival which is scheduled to be held on 20 of February in the hall of the People's Palace, announcing the launch of its media campaign. The general coordinators of the festivals gave a speech in which he explained the details on the festival, pointed out that it will be a popular artistic event as a message of thanks and appreciation and gratitude for the Yemeni brothers, refugees, residents, and transit who were embraced by Djibouti. He thanked the Djiboutian people and the leadership represented by His Excellency the President of the Republic, Ismail Margili, who addressed to me to treat Yemenis as a guest of dignity, adding that Djibouti has already exercised those values that have been unique to the countries of the war in hospitality and reception, and Yemenis have been given all the necessary facilities. Djibouti has opened its window and hearts to all Yemeni. He called on Yemenis, resident refugees, transit, and all the Yemeni inside and outside Djibouti to contribute and interact with the festival's media campaign. The Embassy of Saudi Arabia this morning granted a donation consisting of the curricula and books for 80 Arab schools in the Republic of Djibouti. This event took place at the Uda schools in the Haramus district. The representative of the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training was present in the presence of the official of the schools concerned. The minister in charge of the Saudi ambassador and the director of Saudi schools, as well as a representative from the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training. The donation is part of the fraternal relation between the two brotherly countries of the Republic of Djibouti and Saudi Arabia. In an interview with the national television, the headmaster of Saudi schools in Djibouti thanked the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for its continued support for the Republic of Djibouti in the field of education. He also explained that the gift came within the framework of the fraternal relation between the two brothers' countries. Moving on to the international news, there are 363 of the migrants came onto a Spanish aid ship that came to their aid. The NGO Open Arms charters of boats in the Mediterranean. They are 363 migrants huddles on a Spanish humanitarian ship which came to their aid. The NGO opened also the launch of appeal to be able to accost after having been refused by the Maltese government at the end, the boats of Italy's agreement to land in the Pazzolo city. He said, we have about 70 or 80 kilos of rice left for meals. We have a reservation for 2 days of board, and we hope to be able to the land. This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.